Hey there, welcome to the Eurostep Podcast Network special Festivus edition, recorded on Festivus, hopefully posted on Festivus, pending any technical difficulties. Not that I anticipate having those. We'll see, though. That would add another grievance. We're going to air our Bucks grievances. I'm Ty Windish. I'm joined by my Eurostep co-host, Rohan Kadi, and the Winning Six fellas, Adam McGee and Jordan Tresky. Group, how's it going?
Happy Festivus, Merry Festivus, Merry Chrysler.
That's a good one.
Everyone.
Going well?
Going well.
I think.
Is it Happy Festivus or Merry Festivus? I actually don't remember.
Happy. I think it's Happy Festivus.
Also, for those who have no idea what we're talking about, this is a Seinfeld thing.
Honestly,
like, there's definitely
I was surprised
there's definitely
you
people
knew
who
it,
don't.
Rohan.
Listen,
I was surprised you knew it.
Okay,
that's a really good point.
Yeah.
I've seen.
Ron, you usually don't get cultural references from like 2018.
I mean, you're not wrong, but also I understand this one. So this one's big, but it is a Seinfeld thing. Someone else want to explain it fully?
I think Jordan would be the best
this
person
seems like
for
a
this.
Jordan.
This is absolutely Jordan's wheelhouse.
Israeli basketball.
Maybe not. I'm sorry if
Seinfeld.
not.
I'm trying to remember how it. Well, it's in the episode. It's based on a real thing. It's like actually taken from life, if I remember correctly.
Oh, this I did not know.
Yes.
Oh,
but
wow.
Frank Costanza, something about his origin story is like he wanted to get a toy for George and couldn't get it or got in some kerfuffle about it, and then instituted his own holiday called Festivus, which includes very bizarre things as the airing of grievances, feats of strength, the Festivus pole, which is like the equivalent to a Christmas tree, all that fun stuff of make your own holiday 2 days before Christmas.
I really looked into putting the Festivus poll like somehow behind our names in the middle of the screen if you're watching on YouTube. It looked terrible. It just wasn't going to work. I did not have time to cut it out, so the background was still there. It wasn't good, but just imagine the Festivus poll. So yeah, it's popularized by Seinfeld, apparently exists elsewhere. There's more to it than the airing of grievances, but
yeah,
for this podcast, we are going to focus on our airing of Bucks and Bucks-centric, Bucks-related grievances. It's
NBA in general.
Yes,
grievances.
like anything
And
we can tie to the Bucks. Oh, Rohan.
And speaking of
He's
watching on
taking over.
YouTube, make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed to the Substack, gspn.substack.com. Make sure you leave a 5-star rating on both Apple and Spotify, and leave a review if you are listening on Apple, because you can't do that on Spotify yet. Ty, continue.
That was the opposite of a grievance. Actually, you know what? That's a grievance if you haven't done that. So there.
I was about to say 4-star rating.
That's
you're
a grievance.
You're in a grievance. Yeah,
that's exactly. A grievance. Somebody did less than 5 on Spotify, and like our first 11. There's my first grievance. Whoever did, go fix it. Come on, folks. There's no need to rate us below 5 stars. But Adam,
go fix it, or fuck them.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
It could be a hostile act. We don't know.
Guys are out.
So if it's an accident, you're great. Go fix it. If not,
all right.
We're gonna have some words.
Yeah. Well, we've already had them. We're starting this pod out with violence, which I don't mind. Adam, what's your? I guess I'll say your next grievance. That sounds like a grievance in itself, but.
I don't have any grievances prepared because I have not watched the last 3 quote unquote Bucks games. And maybe we can make this the grievance. Just what are the NBA doing? What are they doing? I understand there's a level of fear here in, pause the season. Do you actually manage to get it started again in a prompt fashion? That's valid and all. But what is this product they're putting out there? Like, there's one of our last episodes, Jordan, we were talking about guys who appeared in the NBA. We're having some good games against the Bucks. This was kind of before things got out of control. I was like, I've no idea who these guys are. They were just popping up everywhere. And now it's like 90% of the league. It's like, if you don't pay attention for a week, it's like you don't know NBA players anymore.
Joe Johnson scored in 2021.
I know Joe Johnson. I'm all for that.
I know you know Joe Johnson, but that's the point I'm trying to make here.
Can we get Josh Smith? Can someone pick up the phone, get Josh Smith back, and then then it's really a happy Christmas for everyone, especially Josh Smith. But yeah, this is I don't know what they're doing. I don't see the point of it. I mean, there was a lot of talk when the Bucks won their championship. Oh, is Is there an asterisk? Is there an asterisk? The year before, the bubble, very obvious reason for that. Let me be on record. Yes, there is an asterisk with that one. But this is actually the most, I think, at this point, because those 2 previous seasons, it feels like they were generally games were played with real players or they weren't played at all, where now we're doing something completely different that, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it's really kind of maintaining the integrity of the league. It's just keeping money coming in, keeping the TV deals going. But like, are ESPN going to be happy? Are TNT going to be happy what they're going to get on Christmas Day? It is going to be a horror show if some of these stars are missing. Like Giannis isn't going to be back. It seems like he'll be first game back after Christmas would be the earliest possible for him. It's not really what anyone signed up for. So why are we doing it?
It's stemming from a lack of testing. If we're just talking about general NBA, I'm not one to say, like, I don't know the full scope. I don't know the full logistics of how it would go. So I can't say, oh, we need to pause the season. Would pausing the season make sense so you can institute new protocols? Yeah, that might make a little bit of sense. But again, I don't know the full scope. I can't make those decisions. That's why I'm not in charge.
Is the grievance, though? Maybe I should reframe it, because they just came into this like a normal season, basically. Like that's the problem.
Yes.
There was no contingency in place here. It's like there was a big "we did it" moment, and now it's like, well, actually, where we all knew this was a possibility, right? We all knew we could end up back in a spot like this, or
hell, it almost ruined the finals last year.
That's true.
Based on everything we know now, like we already knew at the time, but all the further details, everything they've just expanded on that with this season, where there's like, no, all whatever ships ahead. I don't know.
My favorite part about, there was like that Rolling Stone supposed expose on the finals. Chase Buford on our podcast like dropped something way more damning than anything that was in that piece. Yeah. Like he was like, the NBA with the honestest test, he like closed his eyes and threw it, basically. Like,
but their whole approach feels like close your eyes and wish for the best.
It does. Here I want to add to your grievance or like my version of it. I get the not wanting to pause the season thing. I really do. I don't get their postponement protocols. Just postpone more games. Like, honestly, I think Bucks Rockets last night was not great, but the Bucks had 3 players out to protocols. I think the Rockets had like none or one. I think none, actually. That game, I think, could probably go on. Like, I think the Bucks had enough guys. Even if they're lying about Grayson Allen, I think that's okay. Why was Bucks Cavs not postponed when the Bucks had no players? And the Bucks aren't helping by keeping guys active who aren't going to play. And the Cavs subsequently had a huge outbreak. But I think if you have more than 3 or maybe 4 guys in protocols, it should be automatically postpone all the games, figure them out, or don't. Like, who cares, honestly? It's a regular season game. But I don't understand why some teams will have a couple guys on protocols and they immediately get their game postponed. Other teams, it feels like, have 6 guys out and they're like, oh, the NBA is like, you need to sign these 4 G League guys and play the next day. That's not good for anybody. And I keep seeing, and I do think one of the few silver linings of this whole thing is some G League guys are getting a look, sure. I don't think it's a huge deal most of the time. I don't think if one of these players stuck after a hardship exception, that would feel like an upset to me. I don't think any of them are going to stick with the teams that are calling them up. Maybe, hopefully, but probably not, because there's mostly not roster spots. But I just think, like, don't force these teams to play terrible ball. Like, if you have a couple guys out and you think it's under control and you think you can play a real game, I get it. There just needs to be more postponements, because, like, that Cavs game the Bucks played, it was just hideous. Like, it was terrible. Mamu and Javonte Smart played 85 minutes combined. Like, that's not NBA basketball.
No, that's why I'm not watching these games. It's like, what is the point? I'm not even going to take something from this as about, oh, look, Mamu can actually, it's like, who's he doing it against? Like 8 other guys who weren't in the league last year. And the weirdest thing with this, and to your point there, is this season should just have been elongated as a plan. There should be more rest built in to make up for the lack of rest in recent years. You don't have the obstacles this summer that were your problems last year. Last year, it was all about the Olympics, and we've got to get everything in before the Olympics because guys want to go. You don't have that problem. You don't even have, there's the FIFA World Cup, which they would always want to be done before, kind of avoid. It's in December next year. So you don't have, I can't think of a single thing that's there that's stopping you from just bring it a little bit more. But I know it was a real kind of point of contention that, oh, we want to get back on track and back to our regular schedule. It's like, yeah, I'd love to get everything back to normal. Wouldn't that be great, Adam Silver?
Yeah.
It's just not the world we're living in. So I don't understand why it feels like there has been no plan, not even consideration given to this. It's really, really bad.
Well, and I think they could have done both. Like, you want the calendar back? Fine. Just keep 72 games for one more year. Build in more rest that way. Again, it's like everyone's going to say the revenue thing, and I know the gates add up more. I feel like the TV revenue is not that different from 72 to 82. Like,
what are the ratings like right now for some of these games?
Well, exactly. And I think tickets is the other argument, and I think we might see that change. I know the Raptors, in a more responsible country, are already limiting how many people can attend games. We'll see how different places and states and cities and ordinances around the U.S. do it. But it just feels like they just missed the mark. And like you said, Adam, planning for this. And it feels like they didn't really plan for this, which I think a lot of people, individuals around the world were like, oh, great, we're turning the corner. We're out of this. I think it's fine for a person to think that. A multi-billion-dollar company should probably have had a bit more of a plan for this thing not being done like we all hoped it would be.
Yeah, and Ty, you mentioned that, like why even play those games if they're being postponed? Like, they don't care about the regular season. They're showing that they don't care about the regular season by playing the games in the first place. Because at the end of the day, like you were saying, Adam, what is anyone getting from this? Like, what's the point? Like, is this helping, like, in terms of ratings? Probably not. Does the standings mean anything anymore because it's just like a toss-up? Who knows? It's just like, what's the point?
There is, when I was on Twitter yesterday, there was something about like the worst records of a defending NBA champion. There was like, I think it was StatMuse, to credit them, and it was like running through all these teams, and the Bucks were like 19-13. I was like any other like exactly. I was like, how are we divorcing any context from this at all? Like, I know it's not just the current environment that has never really left us, but it's gotten worse with COVID. But there's injuries that factor into it too. But it's like trying to find. We already had a tough time trying to find any value in how last year was run, and the Bucks, I mean, to their credit, like, I know Drew missed time with COVID and stuff like that, and there was, they relative, and as we said before, the finals, they got through it, but the NBA kind of washed their hands of it with it all. But it's even more harder to find value in the regular season when it just feels so disposable. That's what it feels like to me increasingly, and how they just want the show to go on and everything to go in, as on time and everything like that. That's where it's like, in trying to invest in like watching the Bucks this season, the defending champions, like there's already that built in, like, oh, that's this, let's see how it goes this year. Like, the pressure is off, so to speak, in terms of like what that had existed a year prior, but you still want to see them go back to back and do all that fun stuff. And now it's like, you just see the landscape of the league. And I know like a lot of this is guys that are testing positive, but they're asymptomatic or vaccinated or what, just this huge gray area of how do you go forward with the league. And from that perspective, it just like, I don't see why, or I can understand why people would have a problem investing in the NBA and following where to go with the season, just because it's all just shit.
Yeah, and they're not just showing they don't care about the regular season, as you put it on. They're showing they don't care about the fans. Like, who is actually benefiting from this experience? Like, who wants to go to these games and see this version of the NBA? Not me. I'll raise my hand. Not me. I have postponed my trip. I'm sorry for people who don't know, which is literally everyone except the people I'm talking to directly here. I've postponed my trip because, one, it was maybe a little too soon in the year, and that could be a pretty bad time worldwide the way it's looking. But two, it's like, right now, do I want to be like, great, I'm finally here to see the Bucks, and there's like 8 G leaguers I've never heard of that are wearing the uniform? I don't know who they
Jordan
think
Nwora
this is
might have took
benefiting.
like 40 shots in a game.
That doesn't sound
as
any
I said,
different. That
I have
doesn't sound any
postponed my
different than
trip.
usual.
But the other thing, so it's the fans. I don't think it shows any care for player welfare. I'm really
No.
surprised with
No.
how the MBPA are letting this fly, which I guess they're just like, oh, they're, waiving some of the rules around two-way deals. We're seeing more guys get in the league. I mean, this could be a separate grievance. Maybe I'll keep it. I didn't have any prepared. I'll park it, but as you brought up earlier, some of the guys getting in. I mean, yeah, great. You've got your big moment. I also think those guys are getting screwed. Like, they're getting screwed. You know what? We'll use it now because it makes sense. They're being brought in and they're not getting the kind of money. Like, if you're Mamu and now you're on a two-way and the days limit's removed, like, why aren't those guys on real NBA deals and real NBA money? I know there's some talk about it. They're getting screwed. Like, it is not benefiting any of them. The two-way is at a far inferior rate to what a veteran minimum is, even for like a rookie, right? I'm right in saying that.
You are.
Yeah.
I do. They did come out and also say if two ways go above the original restriction on games, they will
Like
have
50 days or
amended
whatever.
salaries. Yeah, 50 games now. So they
But
changed
is
it
that
from, they changed
that's
it
going
from
to be
NBA
prorated
days.
though,
I think
right?
it is.
That's
So I don't know if it'll be
still going to be
vet min
below
still.
vet min, which it's just wrong. It's like if you're a player who's going to play a full season, there's literally the name of the contract is minimum, and there's going to be guys below that. It's not. It doesn't make sense on any. It's just in any way. And the guys coming in, they're just going to get churned through. It's like, great, you've got your dream. You know what? Your wave next week when those guys are back.
Yeah.
You're back to square one. You're like, okay, am I going back to where I was in the G League? Am I finding a new G League team? Or am I just having to go somewhere completely different? Like, the moment is great, but I don't think any of those individuals, whether it be two-way guys who now don't have to deal with that. I mean, from the Bucks' point of view, if they like Javonte Smart, and Javonte Smart has done some good stuff, great. It's like you can keep him around. Mamu, obviously, you drafted him. Not that that means anything, but great. You can have him around. He's kind of at a position of need. It's debatable, but
at a position
right
of
now,
need. Yeah.
right now he is. I mean, he's at more of a position of need than ideally he would be
Yeah.
because of the construction of the roster. But I don't see how anyone is benefiting. Even the NBA, the product, like they've been fighting this notion of like ratings are down, interest is down. The product stinks. It's terrible. Like, this is not something that's good. It's the complete opposite of the NFL model of eventize. At least you have week to week. It's like the gap would help a lot, and they have no gaps in their schedule. I don't know why.
Well, also
At least the NBA is somehow testing more than the NBA.
the NFL.
Or the
The
NBA is
NFL.
testing more than the
Yeah, the NFL. The NFL is just like the shield above all.
That
baby.
is a recent change.
Yeah. Well, because
The
Well, to be
NFL
fair, they were
more
conducting
proactive
tests.
on some good stuff though
Yeah.
compared to the NBA too. Like,
True.
I feel like they were more ahead of it, and now they have leaned even further into
Yeah,
the season's
Silver was at
most
a
of the way there.
podium.
Let's just
They
ignore
were
that.
also conducting tests and then letting the players play the games and then getting the results back, which is just wild.
My first grievance really should have been with the number of Pro Bowlers that the Packers had.
they have a lot
Honestly,
of reserves. They
I
have a lot
don't
of
know what the
reserves.
answer to that question is. I don't know how many they have.
They have 3, I think.
I'm-
Three.
Is it 3? Can I guess them?
Yes.
You could try.
One's Devontae Adams. I know that.
One,
Is one Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
two.
Of course.
And 3,
I don't think I remember who 3 is.
is it a
He's
defensive
really
player?
good.
I
Yes.
think I remember.
Is it
Is
Amos?
it Ken? Is
Oh
it
no,
Ken?
it's
No.
Kenny Clark. It's Kenny Clark.
Kenny Clark.
Okay, Clark.
Well, all
Oh,
the
great, let's
other
go.
star players have been hurt most of the year, so I think
That's
it makes
the-
sense.
Outside
I'm a
of
big football guy,
Well,
apparently.
listen, if you got to bring your football knowledge to win in 6 now, anytime you come on with us, right, Jordan? We talk football.
That's true.
Big football guys. Are you guys gonna do Brewers if the MLB actually comes back?
Sure, why not?
I heard the league is over. They're following my advice after what I said about the NBA. Just shut it down.
Do we not want the MLB to come back?
I know.
I don't know.
The Brewers made a nice trade before it shut down. I would like them to come
Yeah.
back. Anyway, let's move on to Bucks grievances. I've got just like there's nothing anyone can do about it except be better. I don't like losing to PJ Tucker in the Heat. It's a much different note than what we've been on. Oh, actually, I have one last thing. It's just like one thing to throw in. I think a better answer, like just have like 2 more two-way spots instead of doing these like
Well,
10-day contracts and just leave the flexibility. Like
This
make
is
it
what-
like a practice squad kind of thing.
Why not just expand the size of rosters generally?
Well, that,
It's
that
like,
would,
this
it
is
would
what I
go
was
be,
gonna
beyond,
say.
it'd be
but
the same deal. It'd be the same thing.
but do a real roster spot so guys get paid real money. It's like
Yeah, I
the
mean-
two-way was a great idea that I now just think is being exploited. No one is more exploitive
in part
of it
because
than
of
the
COVID.
Bucks. Sure, but it was there as a loophole to do that with.
Oh,
the players
Bucks
are not
exploited it
benefiting.
from day one.
The
Yeah.
players are not benefiting. It would be much better if there were 17 roster spots. Like if you're gonna, there should be more roster spots. I think for a variety of reasons. One, just a continued load on these players. Injuries are going to be a factor, and particularly things being condensed for a few years. Like more real roster spots, and then if you want to do two ways, great. That would have been a simple step for this year, though. You know, give a 2 to 3 year berth. If you want to go back to normal, then fine. But sorry, Ty.
No, yeah,
I don't like two ways because I
Yeah.
think teams are just taking advantage of players, like the players who are most desperately on the fringe trying to make it. They actually take a worse deal than they take to go play overseas because they're chasing the NBA dream. That's wrong. The closer you are to the NBA, the closer you should be to NBA money.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm sick of PJ Tucker looking like, I don't know, prime Sean Marion against the Bucks. And I don't like losing to this team. Like, I could take a loss to the Nets easier because they have Kevin Durant. The 2 good teams in the West because they have those guys. Even the Bulls, because I think we all know how a playoff series would go between those teams. The Heat might be my least favorite team to lose to.
Ty, apply the same logic that you did with the Bulls. This happened last year too.
What happened the year before that? No, I don't love
The year before
this
that was
matchup.
bubble. We already discussed that
I
bubble's
don't
fraud.
love the matchup. I just don't like losing to this team. I think it's my least favorite team to lose to.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely my least favorite team to lose to as well.
And it's happened
But
twice.
it's also it has happened twice, but also like it's not sustainable.
I don't care.
What
It's just, it's a
what about
grievance.
those
It's a
performances
grievance.
was-
I don't need an
Okay.
answer. I'm airing a grievance. I don't like it.
Ty, we're doing a basketball podcast. This is called analysis.
It's called a grievance for me.
Do you want us to not interact with your grievances? Is this
You
the
can
kind of
interact
grievances?
with it.
You just want something off your chest.
Yeah, like,
but
you're
we're not allowed
gonna
to
talk me
disagree.
down.
It's all about emotion. He doesn't want the
Yeah, like
resolution.
you're not
This
gonna
is just
talk me into
therapy for
enjoying
Ty.
it. Yeah, of course. All of them are. All of them are. Why else do this? I don't
Fair
know.
enough.
No,
Fair
I see your point. I think the Bucks are better. Clearly, I'm not more worried about a playoff series because of these games. I just don't like. I don't like the feeling, especially the Jimmy and Bamless game where Max Strus and Gabe Vincent, these guys that Adam is like, who the hell?
No, I know those guys. We've moved past the point. Like there are guys that I'm like, that guy Garrison Matthews, like he's
Like,
he
who is
must
the
be in
guy
the
that was placed-
MVP race at this rate, right?
Yeah.
Who was the guy that was placed in protocols by the Kings? I got that notification. I was like, who on earth is this dude?
Chimezie Metu.
No, not him.
Oh,
I know
How
who
dare
that
you?
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on, Ty.
Okay.
There was one guy. I was
Respect to
just like,
Chimezie Metu.
who?
Why?
Who is this?
Because he's an NBA player who I know about.
And
This
he's
is how it
actually
works.
like he's like a promising young player as well.
He
They
was.
started
Davion
him, That
Mitchell?
doesn't mean he's promising.
No, I know Davion Mitchell.
Yeah, Davion Mitchell is good.
He's a stud defensively. I
Yeah.
can't find. Oh, you guys keep talking. I'll find it.
Okay.
Well, if you guys don't have any, if you don't want to try to talk me down off this Heat.
No,
grievance.
my only thing on this would be: is it even about PJ Tucker? Is it even about this year? Like this is just the Bucks lose to the Heat every season. Like go back to kids' time. Even like this is just as long as Eric Spoelstra is the coach of that team, the Bucks are going to have some absolutely brutal performances against the Heat. It may or may not
Giannis-
matter. I'd lean. Yeah, Giannis
I
tends
think
to too.
he averages the least amount of points.
It certainly
against
feels
the Heat
like it.
more than any other opponent.
Well, even in the playoffs, that was the thing, right? Like if you look back at the first round stats, Giannis wasn't particularly great offensively, but he sprayed the right passes, and the Bucks role players did their
Bryn
jobs.
Forbes.
And that's
Hit one shot.
unfortunately like that's kind of the recipe to beat this team as of right now. I think Giannis would be better this version of him when he gets back and healthy in the playoffs. Like I think he didn't really turn his playoff corner until halfway through the Nets series. So I think he would be better than he was against Miami last year. But there is just more of a reliance on guys not named Giannis against that team, and it is a little spooky. But I think it feels worse for me because we all know like we could have this same roster the Bucks have plus PJ Tucker. and PJ Tucker has been overall the best Heat player against the Bucks. And I like, again, it's like I can't be upset at him for relishing owning that matchup. Like, he's absolutely in the right on that. And it's just like all of it just burns in a different way.
Also, I found the name, by the way. Nemius Coita. First Portuguese player in the NBA.
Oh.
I didn't know there was a Portuguese player in the NBA.
Exactly. I saw this. I was like, who on earth is this
There
guy?
was a great screenshot floating around Twitter, and it was a John Hollinger thread, and the top tweet was about that guy, and the bottom tweet was about the war in Iraq, and it was getting very heated.
Oh,
And I just remember seeing it with no context and being like, this is why Twitter is both the best and worst thing to ever happen.
Can I say something else on the Heat? Because I've been thinking about this for a while.
I was really worried.
I gotta bring it back. No, I wasn't gonna say something on the war in Iraq.
Okay.
On the Miami Heat, if we're allowed to take it back to that instead.
Let's
You sure?
Let's pivot around.
No
Desert
grievances?
Storm. Let's go around Desert Storm and get.
Don't
to the
answer.
Miami
It wouldn't
Heat.
be good to say you don't have grievances either. But I don't think the Bucks are going to see the Heat in the playoffs. My feeling has been Bucks will be probably the 2-3. I know there's a lot of time left, and with the way things are going, there's a lot of uncertainty as well in what's going to happen in the standings. If I had to bet now, I would say the Bucks will be in the 2-3 kind of section of the bracket. I think the Heat will be in the 4-5. And it's like, if you're going to play them, you're playing them in the conference finals, and they've probably beaten the Nets. And if that's what happens, I'd be like, this is great. Let's do it. We can play the Heat instead of the Nets. You know, except we wouldn't even have to play the Nets, you know?
Exactly.
So I know there's a lot of time, but I do feel like there is even with the weirdness, there is a kind of coherent tiering that seems to have emerged. And I do feel like the Bulls are real enough that barring injuries, they will probably hold firm as a good regular season team. And again, you know, knock on wood, and all this is barring injuries more than the couple of week COVID absences. I think 3 is the Bucks' floor, and then that's going to leave the Heat in the 4-5 mix, most likely, and you don't have to worry about it. Not
a grievance. I think Nets 1, Bucks 2 is the optimal seeding. The Kyrie benefit is incredible. I want the Nets to get the first seed. Like, that's less Kyrie throughout the whole playoffs. It would be even better if the Knicks end up a play-in team at 8 and he just doesn't play the first round. I think that's really, I never thought of that. Theater. That's what I'm rooting for. Also, then like you said, Adam, if the Nets are 1, Bucks are 2, the Nets have to go through some real teams. They're not going to have Kyrie for more than half their games. Like the Cavs, I think they're going to tank, right? The Nets have got to tank near the end of the season. I think KD is going to keep trying. Like KD is lifting that team up. You just shut them down. Exactly. Yeah,
you just rest.
Well, they've never done that. Have they ever rested any of their guys?
This might be the season where they
like
have
twice this season.
2 times, 2 games in this whole season. They've rushed Harden back multiple times.
22 games in
from the hamstring. I'm saying like rest for a significant period. I don't think they've ever done that. I don't think. Well, let's say there are a couple of games ahead of the Bucks with like 5 games to go in the regular season. Whether the Bucks are the 2 or 3, just that side of the bracket. Yeah,
like they're gonna be thinking, okay, let's make sure that we have a deciding game with our best players rather than a deciding game at home. I would think. Maybe they have a different feeling on that. I certainly prefer that. I just love that they're in. Like that's such a terrible decision to have to make. Should we lose games and lose home court so we can get this annoying guy on our team more often?
I mean, that decision is being made by the teams themselves because they have to play.
It is.
Yeah, all this mess.
He's still like, okay, oh, he's back. Just in the all-time funniest NBA moment ever.
Immediately in protocol.
Like,
here's a grievance.
Are we going to see him play by the time we come through the other side of that? There's until he's on the court and he's playing regularly.
And Baxter Holmes, he tested positive too, so it's not.
Yeah,
but of course he did.
I know.
He's a.
It's not protocols now, though. It's not the kind of environment that I would think you'd be like dying to get into. Well, maybe bad choice of words there. If you're unvaccinated, right? I don't think you're going to be like, let's go into an arena filled with people, be around tons of people, be traveling, flying all around the country. Like that's a recipe for disaster. And so, the guy who isn't vaccinated comes into that. Like that's going to be a problem. It's just the fact that it was an immediate problem is, you could not write that.
Ooh, can I take this off on a small tangent?
Sure. My grievance is Nets fans celebrating for getting 40% of Kyrie Irving is just like the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It is. But speaking of what Adam was saying about fans, this is a grievance I just thought of. What are NBA arenas doing? Majority of fans are sitting there unmasked in an indoor environment. There's got to be some sort of restrictions. There's got to be.
You know what I thought about this? I think there is something for courtside, but I saw Joe Johnson walking. I saw the clip of him scoring, right? And it includes him checking in. And he walks like directly past a fan standing up with no mask courtside. And I was like, how is that a good idea? Like,
there's like tens of thousands of people in there. There's more restrictions on them,
but yeah, like they're mingling in the arenas. Why are we still letting fans stand right next to players?
Why not fans near the bench? It's the same reason as everything else.
Why are we letting fans be unmasked?
I think it's wild. I mean, and even outside of COVID, after some of the weird fan encounters we've seen, like I don't think they should be necessarily that close. I know courtside basketball is
still people getting kicked out of courtside seats as of last night too. Well, that happened at the Thunder Nuggets game. I think some couple was heckling Austin Rivers.
Well, there was the LeBron one too, right? Yep. Was that Denver or Utah?
Indy.
Indiana.
Yeah. And well, how about the guy in Sacramento? We all just laughed at the time, but a guy threw up on the court. Like, that's not very sanitary. Like, we're worried about
Luke
COVID.
Walton got fired.
That got Puke Walton. That guy could have been spreading dysentery. Like,
think it was related, Jordan?
This.
They're like, this is the final straw. We cannot stand this shame. We are the proud Sacramento Kings.
It's like the goats in the office of Robert Sarver.
I mean, no, it was in the office of McDonough.
Oh, McDonough.
Yeah, McDonough.
Sarver put him there.
Yes.
I think if your basketball is so bad that fans are literally vomiting, that probably is a sign you should move on from the coach.
Okay, let's get back to Bucks grievances.
Yeah.
Jordan, did you have a grievance?
Yeah. Stop hitting Pat Connaughton in the face, please. This has to stop.
Hitting/kicking.
Yeah.
It's not just punching or elbows, little chicken wings anymore. It's Garrison Matthews going full Neo and Matrix Resurrections and hit him in the face.
They need to make money, and they're finding new and innovative ways to do it. It's new product placements.
Yeah.
Garrison Matthews is in as a Matrix stunt double.
Apparently, it feels like we're watching like this Logan Paul, Jake Paul boxing match without even paying for pay-per-view. And that kind of thing just gets hit every freaking day.
The way everyone watches those boxing matches is what you're saying. I will say at least 40% of these are Pat incited. Like Pat.
Yeah, I won't disagree with that.
I think
because he's getting in there.
He puts his face, like, he knows, especially when he draws offensive fouls. Like he's like, here's your elbow, here is my face. We will take the ball now.
He's not Deli though. Like he definitely
he doesn't flop. He just
but I don't even mean I don't even mean that it's like flopping or anything. I just mean he's not a player like that's whole game is based on relishing that today. Like
no, it's
definitely
a part of it. It's just a part of
it. It is severely disproportionate the amount of times he gets hit in the face. Compared to the type of player he is.
And I feel like this year more than like it was already like a recurring theme, but it would be like one in every 15 games. Now it's like every other night. This guy's getting blasted.
2 in the same night. He got kicked
2 in the same night
and then slapped in the same eye, and Marcus is like, get him out of there.
Yeah,
I wasn't watching live, right? I saw the clip, made a joke after seeing the clip. Did he like he got rocked? Like that wasn't just like it was a boot in the face. Did anyone take a look at him?
No,
that was bad.
They had a timeout. They had a timeout, and
the official went and talked to him.
Yeah,
because that was worse than some of the others he had, where you see his head properly get rocked.
Yeah.
NBA, get better concussion protocols. Grievance.
Yeah, it really seemed like the scene from Creed where like the numbers are being shown behind the guy's head. Like that's definitely something like that is the only way Pat passed that protocol because
his eye was just swelling.
Yeah, like
as the game was progressing.
Like a boxer. Like I think they had to like cut him at some point. Not literally.
He made that tree again. I saw a clip of it, and he was like smiling ear to ear, like bigger than I've smiled before. And I'm like, is Pat there? Like, is Pat there behind the eyes?
This is where this is my question though.
Look at all the lights.
I tweeted it last night. but is him getting him the face like his Samson, where he just the powers, the threes grow more.
It wasn't last night. It wasn't
last night.
I think
but
he was 3 for 12.
He's still shooting like 46% of the season or whatever.
Samson,
the hell it is.
This is like a cultural reference from like
Bible.
ancient Greece or
the Bible.
The Bible.
It's the Bible. There you go. Okay, that's a bad look for me.
guy
Although, is it really? I don't know.
Not a bad look.
This guy Samson's a badass, but if you cut his hair, then he's like whack.
All his strength is in his hair.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like the Achilles. Oh, not really. It's not that similar to Achilles.
Is it not ancient Greek? I really thought Samson was ancient Greek.
I mean, it's probably both. Like nothing new under the sun, right?
There's probably an equivalent to it that they just it's under a different name.
Everything just gets robbed.
It's all the same. Yeah.
The Romans and the Greeks have the exact same gods, but one set is named after planets. Like IP theft
there are
is
differences.
old news.
There are differences.
Okay, Rohan.
Yeah.
Any grievances on this?
No.
I took a class on ancient Greek and Roman history.
I read a lot of Wikipedia. You don't want to throw down.
There's some Greek letters, that I've got some grievances right now.
Yeah.
Like Omicron.
Oh, I get it.
Oh, I get it now. That's good. That was good.
So clearly it went over everyone's head. Except Jordan. Thanks, Jordan.
I got it.
Rohan, next grievance.
Okay, this one is not going to shock anyone.
I'm going to
Injuries.
cross one off. Yep, there we go.
Yeah. Like, come on. I just, what are we doing here? What happened to Chris Middleton? We have no
what
idea.
happened to Grayson Allen?
Grayson, yeah, exactly. What happened to Grayson Allen? What happened to Chris Middleton? What is happening? What kind of back surgery did Brooke Lopez get? Like, I'm still mad about all this. We still have no idea what happened to Chris Middleton's knee.
Hyperextended. That's all we're going to get.
That's not an injury.
I think it is for NBA teams. That's more than we've gotten for like at least 60% of Bucks stuff.
It's just annoying. Like, it's just,
I think
it's not
Grayson
even a
is
bit.
worse. Was Grayson on the bench? I know he warmed
Yes.
up.
Yep. So he's been active. Is this 2 straight games now where he didn't play?
Yep.
Well, they're probably just resting him, but just
for over 5 days. They had all those days off after the Cavs game, which he also was active and didn't play in.
Apparently, Bud said he might be ready. Like he might be playing
because of the
today.
back-to-back.
Yeah,
but we have no idea has he ever been on an injury report this season?
why is he active if he's got an injury?
That's
because so they don't have to sign a hardship guy.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to sign a hardship guy.
That's my new conspiracy theory is even though it doesn't count toward the tax, they just don't want to do it.
Don't want to. It still costs actual money.
It still costs whatever, 10K.
You're not going to be penalized like multiple times over on it, but it's going to cost you actual money.
Well, yeah, and if they don't expect to actually use the guys or of them to be around, I think they're just saying like we're not going to do it. I was surprised they didn't try to keep Mamu on the bench because they did technically dip to 12 available players, which is supposedly they should have needed to sign one, but I'm guessing they just said, well, it was right before the game. We didn't have time. It's very weird. It's another. It's just one of my
the Bucks are just finding whatever way to break the rules as possible.
They love it. Adam Silver's going to have to take another second-round pick. We can all be outraged.
Honestly, they probably deserve it.
That's why they have to trade him all away for Kendrick Williams first.
Exactly. Kenny Hustle.
Here's a grievance. Shemi Ojale.
Did you not listen to our last pod, Adam?
No, I don't listen to any of them.
That's probably for the best.
That's a joke. I haven't listened recently. I'm watching the Bucks. I don't need to listen to any of this. It's, this is a perfect that you said, you want to come on? We're doing a pod. We're going to air grievances. I was like, okay, I could do that.
No, last episode we talked about potential trade targets, and Kenrich Williams was one of them that I was very excited about.
We'll get to one of my grievances in a second.
Well, literally 1 second. My grievance, Shemi Ojale, no explanation needed. Adam, you're up.
He's the grievance?
Yeah, exactly. What he did to me and my moral fiber, I had to take that L so publicly.
Your credibility more.
I never had that. I was
going to say, there wasn't much to begin with, and then
nothing,
it just...
Nothing at all. Wasn't great.
Did you learn a lesson with that? I was actually thinking about this last night. I was seeing people complain about, and I was like, in future, will Ty just not go as irrationally in on a guy?
Absolutely not. No, scared money don't make none. I'm still gonna be me, but I feel like I.
Are we making money with these guys?
No, but I embrace owning up to being wrong, and I did that pretty quickly with Shemi. And it's just like, I can point to that and be like, hey, you can tag me. I was totally wrong at first. I'm not a die on a hill guy. I will take the new evidence and flip immediately.
That's a reverse Michael Beasley. I call that. That was my guy.
It sometimes you just got to have some self-awareness and say, hey, I missed the mark.
You can't double down.
Can lead to a new response.
Yeah,
wild concept.
I think that's an okay thing to embrace.
I think that's okay, but you don't need to go out of your way to make it something you have to do all the time.
I name one other time this season.
No, you definitely haven't been that wrong another time this season.
I can't remember another time I've been that wrong in quite a while, honestly.
I'll go back. I'll listen to those pods now. I'll find some.
I think that was my worst one.
I'm just sitting here, just taking a silent victory lap.
I still get the Wizards point.
Yeah, you do.
We did the game 2 or game 3 podcast.
Okay.
Against the Nets.
Listen, that was just. Was I wrong though?
Hey,
was I wrong?
One of the most traumatic podcast experiences of my life.
We've all had to delete some Rick Carlisle tweets after subsequent events. We were all there. Jordan's face.
I deleted nothing.
Tweets? I didn't delete it.
I think the Bucks dodged a bullet concerning how it's going in Indiana right now.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean,
well, he's also not coaching right now. So
it wasn't going good before he started missing games either.
Yeah.
Based on how things got in Dallas, it's safe to say.
Yeah.
They died.
My grievance, right, is really it's for the likes of, Ty and Rohan. Can we just stop trying to make trades? It's really for John Horst. Can we just sit tight for a while? This is a weird season. Really weird season. Let's just try. Let's just see if at some point we can get something. You're not going to get the full team because of Brooke. Maybe you will. We don't know, Ron. We don't know what the surgery was. But you're likely not going to get the full team back soon. You could get something close to it. I really think the Bucks need to start being just a little less, trigger happy on every possible deal that comes around. Like, yeah, you could be like, oh, that's a marginal improvement. Wes Matthews is a good example of that. It's like, yeah, sure, that makes sense. It's an improvement. Is it ultimately going to matter at all?
Potentially.
Well, I don't know.
Played minutes for them in the playoffs. Like, having another rotation level guy is pretty important.
They have multiple rotation level guys this year. I still feel
it's good.
Maybe not a good spread of position, but Jeff Teague, for example, would not be getting minutes this year. So I don't know if you need to keep doing that. But generally, I do have this feeling. I think the Bucks are really well placed. I don't know how popular this is. This may just be my most, this may be my most me take yet, or maybe it's my most Jordan take yet. But it's like, I think they're in a good place. I think if the season is just play out like it seems like it would be, I think they'll be right there. I think they could win a championship again. They may not, but I don't think a deal is going to come up. That's just the obvious. That's going to do it. And Horst just keeps hitting and hitting and hitting. It's like, dude, you've won your money. Take some of it home.
The dealers changed. They've changed dealers.
Exactly. He's just there at the table. He doesn't know what day it is anymore. And he just keeps going and going. It's like, just go have a nap for a while. We can come back to this. I'm not saying never go and place a bet again, but I think right now you're in a very good spot, a better spot than like the standings reflect, or maybe even that a lot of people will feel. But I do think that comes down into confidence within the organization. I don't think they need to keep doing stuff. Like there is an obvious issue at center, but I don't know if going out of their way to try and plug that. I do have a concern. This was our last episode on Win and Six, which is basically just the Bucks are continually running out of stuff. Like, he is burning through this pretty quickly. The window is tight. That can be one argument for why you put everything there, why you go all in every possible way for these couple of years. The Horse could get very close to it being these couple of years, and that's it, though. And it could get ultra grim really quickly. All it would take is, a couple of the older players to fall off a cliff, not literally, although that wouldn't help either. And you're in a tough spot. You've got nothing. And then Giannis would be like, yeah, you know what? I do want to leave. Do you get what I'm saying? I just think there's there's an eagerness, and it's like, oh, there's this problem. Let's fix it. It's like the perfect roster doesn't exist, particularly this season. I think all healthy, or even very close to all healthy, the Bucks are about as good as any team. And you can build the best roster on paper. There's an argument probably the Bucks did that the year they lost the conference finals. I think they were very close to the best roster on paper. And you could still lose. And then you can have last year where we're all tearing our hair out the whole way through because it's like they may need 15 minutes from Jeff Teague. If something goes wrong, Jeff Teague's going to have to play and you win a championship. And I do think that's kind of the nature of it. There's a certain point where it's like, you are where you need to be. You are good enough this year more than any other. Like, we know they can do it. We know those guys can step up. I'd just be a little cautious. It doesn't mean if like a home run deal emerges that you don't go and get that. But Kenrich Williams, for example, he's a fine player. I don't know if I'm in a hurry for those kind of deals.
He's better than Shemi.
Sure, but that's the trade. It's like Shemi and picks, or maybe Shemi and Wara for picks for him. So I think the counterpoint to this is if they don't do the PJ Tucker trade, they lose, and they needed to upgrade their point guard for 2 years before that, and they didn't, and that's why they lost.
But they did that, and they won, and then because they won in part, they were able to attract better role players this year, and their roster is in a better situation.
They still have the whole of the wing defender.
Yeah,
PJ,
but here's what I'll say.
You're not filling that hole though. You're not filling like this is, and I feel like this is something we'll continue to talk about when the playoffs come around. I felt from the start of the season, you're not. The moment you let PJ Tucker go, you let that player, that archetype go. You're going to have to do something different. Now it's a problem when Brook then ends up with a back injury and you had no center depth either. It's creating new problems.
Yeah,
I don't think any of us would feel that they're problems that the Bucks don't have roots to solving. It would just look very different. And part of that, I feel, is particularly like you have Chris out for some time, you have Giannis and COVID, you have all of that. Like, they were starting to look good just before the shit hit the fan again here. And I'd like to see, can they? And there's an increasing chance that they will have a spell where at least COVID doesn't factor, because quite a few of the guys have now got it, where it's like, can you get your key players out there for a couple of months? And that's what we'll have really the best part of before the trade deadline, for example, before buyouts come. And let's try some different things and let's see how that looks. Let's try some, it hurts me to say this, but some smaller lineups. Like, and let's see what configurations you can have and you can work with that. And I think the year Pat's had is a big, big deal for just reimagining how the Bucks are going to cope without a PJ Tucker, or if Brook isn't fully right, or you're just not entirely comfortable. They're going to have to do some different things, but I don't feel like, because my counter to the PJ Tucker trade, it's also what you do the Mirotic trade. And it's like, there's probably 2 to 3 bad deals for every good deal you do there. And I think compared to, say, when the Bucks traded for Mirotic or when the Bucks traded for Tucker, I think their roster is in a better spot. I think they have more options, they have more versatility. And as a team and as individual players, I think they're just better. Like, they're better prepared. I don't think they have to fear something. So I get, one, the desire to do it because we've seen them fill a gap before, it work out to win a championship. And also that people just love trades. And it's like, well, this guy sucks, let's move him on. It's like, no one wants Shemi Ojale. Like, that guy's out of the league next year. I honestly, I don't think you're trading him for a player that anyone cares even the tiniest bit about with a second rounder. So I feel like we just don't care. Like, you know, unless it's a team that's complete hopeless case, maybe you do
the
that.
Oklahoma City Thunder. Listen, PJ Tucker, they got PJ Tucker for the Rockets moved up like 5 picks? 4 spots?
Yeah, it was like very small.
Almost a meaningless, a future second, even? I think another second, maybe. DJ Augustine, who everyone in the world knows, had just signed an awful contract and was basically unplayable, and has had some okay games this year, but clearly not a good contract. And what
didn't get his ring?
DJ Wilson. To our knowledge. DJ Wilson, was that the other piece? I think that also went. Like, it cost almost nothing to get PJ Tucker. I think you can't replicate exactly what PJ brought, but you can go get another good wing defender for not that much. Shemi Ojale and a couple second round
You've got to try. Like, Adam, you were saying, like, there's no perfect roster. But also, like, even if there's no perfect roster, you still got to strive for it.
But
And
what is the end goal here? Like, what are the Bucks? No, but
to be better,
to be better,
get as many shots at rotation players as you can.
Right now,
so it's all on this season. It's all this season.
Like there's no massive future picks that they have to really trade anyway.
Exactly, but that's why all of these smaller picks matter more, because it's all you've got. So if you
they
play
don't care
this
about
game,
second round picks anyway. Look at what they did to Yorgos.
I know, but they care about them as trade chips because it's the only way to be able to do anything.
Yeah, but they always just go get more.
But you're eventually going to run out with that.
Yeah,
it's not sustainable.
There's nothing. 6 right now. They're not that low.
He could use them in one deal, and I wouldn't be surprised because this is how it works.
That's what the Grayson Allen trade was.
Like if we zoom right out. What do you say is the Bucks' title window right now? If like something,
Giannis's contract.
Okay, so if we want to say like most. I can see there's 4 years where this team kind of without there'll be ups and downs, there'll be things that will come along. They will make deals. But I can imagine this team being in the mix to make the finals for the next 4 years. Everyone with that?
It's silly to think that way. I can't. I will not.
You can't see that.
That's not how the NBA works. Windows are never open as long as you think. I think if you plan for 2025, that's how you lose. But
if you keep going now, the window is gonna slam shut next year, and you may not win it this year because it's difficult to begin with. Like the Bucks are coming from the best possible position on this, which is you've got one already. And like let's all be real, we want more. They may not get another with Giannis. They may not win another for 50 years. If that's the case, well, it wouldn't be great, but they got one. And
true.
I can definitely say we all remember a point where we wouldn't have believed they were going to get one. That point was probably like, sometime in the Nets series when Rohan was screaming on the podcast, right? We all would have struggled to imagine that. So you've got Giannis. Like, they talk so much about the Spurs. The Spurs did not go all in every year and were just like always on the edge. If you want to build something sustainable, I would still like to think they could have Giannis to the end of his career and have a team that's good enough to do that. But your chances of that,
if they had Chris and Drew on their rookie deals for their whole careers, it'd be a lot easier to have a 20-year run like the Spurs had. They don't. Like the thing, it's not even about Giannis for me. It's about Chris and Drew. And who knows how long their primes are going to be. They're both 30 or 30 plus now, I believe, right? Did Drew just turn 30? Sure. I think right around there. You don't know how long they're going to be these elite level players. And there's no path to adding another guy like that. Like all the fun, like I know Charks went on Bill Simmons' pod, I think, and said, if I'm Giannis, I'm trying to get Karl Towns. That's a great idea. The Bucks have no way to get a Karl Towns level player. I mean, maybe if he really wants to come to Milwaukee, which has been true for no one ever, they could do that. But right now they don't. I think you need to maximize while you have these 3 players. And then if you can find a way to find someone else, like they keep adding the Bobby Portises, the Grayson Allens, the guys
on run out
timelines. Though. Well, of course it's going to run out, but
it's got to run out this summer. Like, because you're right, it is about Drew and it's about Chris. I think we'd all agree it is somewhat like this iteration team. It's about Pat and it's about Bobby too. And what are they going to do there? And every year it's going to be one guy less and one guy less. And let's say they do find a solution, another PJ Tucker-esque solution, if not that kind of player, but someone who comes in has that kind of impact. Well, that guy is gone, plus possibly one more. Like they are in a spot like we're right at the apex, right? There's only kind of way down from here, and they might just be able to grab one more on the way down, and then just like fall off a cliff. Or they could put themselves in a position where they get back there and get back there and get back there.
By keeping 5 second-round picks?
No, it's not. It's just, there's not really going to be one deal that does this. But it's just that if it's constant churn, which it is, and right now I don't actually feel it's necessary. I don't think it's necessary. I agree, Semi Oja is not good. You don't need 15 guys in your roster to fit perfectly. Like there is a point in the season where unless something, maybe it happens, it rarely does, is reality, that a player comes on the buyout market that you're like, look at this guy, or someone becomes available for trade at a price that's actually workable for the Bucks. I think you're making my point for me. Thanks, Ron.
Pau Gasol erasure.
It's the continual thing. You're continuing to go one after the other. I think your best chance of having a good team, like good is obviously understanding, having a contending team, is that you get yourself to conference finals, to finals. You're the team every year. You need to be, like, we can talk about, they've changed the culture, they've changed the reputation of the franchise. You can look at their roster and look at the deals guys take, whatever. That is true. Your best chance of keeping that is staying good up until the point where Chris has to go, Drew has to go, and eventually, and this is uncomfortable because it is Milwaukee and the Bucks' history is not great here, they would need a free agent. If this is to become something longer term, they would need a free agent when it comes to the point where they're able to move off, or maybe they can work a trade, but as we're getting to hear, it's not easy. I think you've got to give yourself a chance every year. It's kind of, my thing is I want to have 4 lottery tickets and not just 1 or 2. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's why I target a player
every little second round pick doesn't seem consequential, but with what's left, it doesn't take much. And then say you get a catastrophic injury to Chris and the age he's at, you're done. Like, you're done, well, just like that. It could happen. It could happen anyway. But, you know, we're probably not going to agree on it because I think it is just going to be something that comes down to like an ideological difference in how you'd run a front office. But I don't think the Bucks not making a little deal like that is not being all in. Like, not bringing PJ Tucker back was actually the thing where you're
we certainly agree on that. We agree on that.
That's
PJ
the
Tucker
actual,
and Semi Ojeleye is what unites Bucks.
That's the cost. You know, that's the point where I'm like, you're not maximizing your window. I think deals which are flyers where you're using up, they are nothing, but they're also everything the Bucks have. That's a tough one, particularly, you know, because they're always trading them away. You don't develop guys. Like, you don't even have young players to trade. Like, what would you get with Yorgos? Nothing. Like, literally nothing. They threw him away. Like, but maybe don't do that. Maybe just find any way not to do that. Swap the pick for a second round 4 years from now, rather than use a pick, even if it's the worst pick, and then be like, you know what? We're just getting rid of this guy. Like, they are at such a premium for ways to keep this show on the road. And yet the opportunity is there because you've got the best player in the league, where I'd be like, just every time, what can we do that's giving us more chances? Not necessarily in the year. I wouldn't be saying that if I didn't think this team was good enough to win a championship. I think this team is. They need some luck. They'll need some breaks. They'll need Brook to get back healthy and look even half of himself, like be playable. That could happen. It might not. But I could live with that with the rest of the roster. I think you're giving yourself a chance. And if they don't get there, the thing you'll kick yourself about is PJ Tucker rather than a Kenrich Williams. Sorry, Kenrich Williams, for you becoming
Here's the thing,
like that.
I think you can do both things. Kenrich Williams is 27. It's like the Grayson Allen trade. It's like you're getting someone who's going to help you now. There's no reason that player can't also help you 3 years down the line. Like, I think the Bucks need to walk that line. I don't think there's any way for them to really focus on long term that makes sense because they're not very good at developing the prospects they actually do have. Have you seen DJ
Wilson nowadays?
No.
It's looking good?
No, I haven't, actually.
Did you not see his numbers at the G League showcase just before he got pulled up?
No.
Yeah. He's with the Raptors now.
Oh, is he finally deciding to try in the G League for the first time ever?
No, he's in the NBA again.
Well, no, I know, but I meant at the showcase.
Well, you know, he's figured it out. It took him some time, but he figured it out.
Same with Sterling, who was never svelte once, and then immediately after finally getting away from the Bucks looks much better. Although I don't know if he's actually playing well.
He's not looking too good.
Physically, he looked much better than he ever did with the Bucks, which I don't know. I don't think the Bucks have developed very well, but whatever. Let's do another grievance. I don't know if I have any left. My grievance is with Adam.
Jordan, give us a grievance.
As always with Ty.
Yeah.
Let's go grievance Vasquez.
Oh God, that's a grievance in itself.
That's a grievance. Just
Jordan.
Grievance Vasquez.
That just say grievance.
You've got a grievance, Jordan.
Well,
No, we didn't talk. I want us to talk this out.
Are we talking about identity? Is that what the color?
Oh,
we did like a podcast about that like 2 months ago. But
no, I'm talking more. It's an NBA grievance. NBA coverage grievance, even.
Ah, yes.
This is your major grievance at the moment.
I'm excited.
Maybe it's because I retired.
Semi-retired.
Semi-retired as a blogger, but
semi-retired.
Shemi retired as a blogger. But it's getting out of control in terms of the coverage of the NBA. And I feel like how we talk, I think this current COVID crisis, as one would call it, has magnified it even more of how everything just feels disposable.
Go straight for the throat, Jordan. Come on.
Just wait. I think like seeing all these like hardship sightings and all this stuff and seeing how clear where this information is coming from and being fed to certain reporters, these insiders, if you will, and just seeing how it's just like we're going to do this for, and it's no disrespect to these guys are making to the NBA and all this stuff. It's no disrespect at all. But I just feel like how do I describe this well? Because I just feel like I'm talking in circles. I just feel like this constant, like, okay, who are we going to do? Who are the Bucks going to sign with this hardship exception and all this stuff? Like, I understand there's a total need for it when they don't have enough players to play games, but it's scratching at this itch that I have about like,
it answers the first grievance I brought, which is why is the NBA still happening right now? And the NBA is still happening right now solely so that Woj and Shams can tweet out signings. It's literally the only thing it's the only reason. ESPN is like, oh, look, a Woj bomb. And it's like, yeah, someone you've never heard of has signed for the Kings because the first Portuguese guy, the NBA, is now in protocol. It's like, it is the only thing that is happening, and it's getting more and more ridiculous.
Because of that, by the way.
Congrats, Emmanuel.
Well done, you're back.
King's legend.
What was the a great example? I've no shame. I'll name names. Woj added to his Joe Johnson report that he was a Big Three MVP after the fact.
Two-time Big Three MVP.
It's humiliating. It's like, what are we doing? This has jumped the shark. This is not reporting or journalism anymore.
No.
Ty, you'll have to speak to this because I didn't actually get to watch it. Shams was on with Pat McAfee, right?
Do you think I watched this?
Yes.
No, I saw you tweet about it.
You tweet
the clip. Okay.
Yeah. Ty, you're saying you tweet things?
Where he was literally
like... The clip. I didn't watch the whole episode.
Where he was talking about, I have from Rich Paul himself.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I wonder how that happened.
Yeah.
How Shams did you, as part of the larger Clutch family,
Yeah.
I think too, we kind of get used to this based on how the last 5 years, 6 years, basically my entire blogging life as a Bucks blogger. But you start to see how these things form and how, we saw it specifically Giannis as the example of you prop up this small market superstar, throw him through this rival teams. I've started noticing this way more now, is that you see rival executives talk about, this team's going to go after him, that team's going to go after him. And basically access, journalism in the NBA is basically just asking other executives and teams what their plans are. And 9 times out of 10, those plans will never come to fruition. As rewarding as all this stuff is, and I think maybe from the origin of why I wanted to write about basketball and all that stuff, I think it's much different now than where it was. If I was where I entering it or doing it now, I think I would be attracted to the spectacle and the illusion of I want to write about players that may get traded, just because it's the clout or all this stuff that kind of gets elevated based on having access or pay attention to all these rumors. When over the course of time, you realize it's all for nothing. It's it's 5% of these rumors that actually come to fruition and we actually have some real substance to it. And I think when you kind of just see how the machine works and understand how things have changed and why things exist the way they do in this weird social media bubble that you kind of get used to after a while, if this is what you dedicate your life to it just makes you, I think that's why you get super cynical about where the NBA is at and just where it just feels very disposable. I keep using that word.
I think I have two responses. One is I'm glad, and I think the real bastion of most, if not all, but most of like quality NBA and really all sports coverage is like hyper focused regional stuff like us, like DNVR I think is a great example. All the Blue Wire pods that cover a specific team, even like, you know, the quote unquote enemies like the Locked On pods, it's the same deal. I think that's like the real
enemies.
It's friendly.
Enemies
it's
time.
friendly. I said quote unquote.
Wow. I mean, I'm Ty's enemy as well, so I mean,
oh my!
Keep your enemies close.
It was a
Shouts to
smiling
Franken
nod.
Kane.
Oh my! Yeah, clearly that's what I was. Okay.
Your friends of mine,
shouting them out as such a vicious. But anyway.
No, I'm joking. But your point stands. But those things are
good.
Necessary now, as opposed to even when we started. Like when Win in 6 started, and we all jumped on that. Like it was just a thing. But I actually think it is necessary to have that kind of coverage of a team
absolutely is.
And a place to. I don't. I've said it on the pod. It's come up lots of time. The Low Post is my favorite podcast. I do not listen to the Low Post.
I still like the Low Post.
I don't listen because it is different, and it is, you can see how it's filtered, and you can see how ESPN's coverage generally has evolved. And I think one of the points that Jordan kind of touches on, but to me, I find clear this year, and we should probably add to this. I don't know if it's true for both of you. It probably is. I know it is for Jordan and I, and this is how the conversation got in recent days. Like I have tweet notifications on for a lot of these people for like 7 years now. And even though I don't technically need them on, I have never been able to turn them off because I'm just like, whoa, that's just I'm at too much of a remove if I don't know. The second a Bucks thing happens, if I don't have on my phone there, Woj telling me it's happened. But the way they're reporting, the things they will now tweet about, just to like check your quota for the day. Oh, I broke 4 today. Shams only broke 3. You know, this is what it feels like. But we're actually watching the Giannis style cycle move on. Except there isn't a Giannis to center around. So they're trying to make similar things out of players that no one cares about. It's like they don't have an anchor for it. You end up with so many weird little things that are made into something bigger. And I mean, the NBA generally, and this still stands true, it doesn't need help creating drama, you know? The players do this themselves.
Look at what happened in the Bucks Rockets game. Like people are getting kicked to the face. There are like Jordan Nwora makes fun of what is his name?
Armani Brooks.
Yeah, and then he got posted twice after that, and that is not a coincidence.
But like there's things that naturally pop up, but it's this manufactured.
Even outside of that, basketball just rocks. Like even if there's not drama in a game, it's just really fun. And I think that's why these outlets are thriving, and even non-regional. Like the dunker spot with Nekias Duncan and Steve Jones. Like, people who love the game, like, that content will always be there, even if we have to look harder. Here's my other point I was going to make following Jordan's thing. The newsbreaker scoop thing, it doesn't matter. None of it matters. It's not necessary. They're just doing press releases faster. There's no point.
That's the point.
It's not a necessary
as
thing.
We're recording this, I got 3 notifications that the Nerlens Noel or something. The Knicks have signed someone.
We don't need it. Like I just
and it's like I saw the Knicks PR tweet.
Yeah,
in the same stream.
Half of Shams are literally just not attributing PR. That's
which
a
is
grievance
bullshit.
With Shams in particular.
It is bullshit.
Woj will credit if a PR gets before him.
100%.
Shams did that with Trump and Corona. People legitimately thought he broke that story because of this.
Yeah. Like what did he tweet recently? But wasn't there a more recent one too?
There was
something related to Biden?
I think so. Yeah,
it's like every now and then he'll be like, I'm feeling it.
Also, Dancing with the Stars. I got way too many Dancing with the Stars when Iman Shumpert became the first NBA, and then he deleted it and had to correct it to say former
that happens
NBA
with all
player.
Of them. That happens with all of them.
Oh my god! But it's not. None of it is necessary. Like you could just read the same thing in like 20
just
minutes.
Retweet it.
No, I'm saying the whole newsbreaker thing in general.
It
all comes out. It's not reporting. It's just being a little bit faster. That's the whole thing.
Again, I think there are people that like. When you do it well, you can do it well and responsibly. I mean, there's reasons why Woj, even Shams to a degree, they have gotten in the position where they are because of how dedicated they are. And I mean, I'm not saying that I've done it to their level, but like when you try to keep up with like things over time, it wears you out. It is an exhausting pursuit. So like they are in a position where they can, be these, have push notifications on their phone so I can get the news that I'm on Shopper 1 Dancing with the Stars. But like, I think that what makes it so frustrating over time is just like, okay, like we're just gonna do it like it's gonna be this whole like endless cycle, and you realize like who is actually gaining this, or what is there to be gained out of it, and you increasingly come away with it, and it's just nothing. Nothing is like gained substantially. It's not even about who wins the actual league in a season, where it's like you kind of just like from that perspective, the value of the game and basketball and NBA, that's where things really like dies, in my opinion.
But it's also like, okay, I'm gonna do the thing I do every now and then, which is I'm gonna pull back the curtain, right? I'm gonna pull it back.
Oh boy.
Not on the podcast, but on our past life, right? Three of us here have ran a books blog. Rohan contributed and was a part of the machinery
I
too.
did things.
You did, and you would have.
You did.
So part of the cycle is, and part of like responsible content planning, like building a content strategy to run a website centered around an NBA team is, okay, it's trade deadline. Here's how we're going to cover it. Or, if news breaks, and I can speak for all of us, our policy behind the book pass and airtime there was, we'd be like, we're going to write a news piece. We're gonna aggregate. We'll get back to that word because it again fits back into how ESPN is approaching this and how they view everything else around it. But we're gonna aggregate this. We're gonna put it to the audience that it's actually relevant to. Like I know, particularly in our years, Jordan, but even Ty, when you were the co-site expert with me, like we'd be digging for anything, like anything, anywhere, any scrap that someone's reported that may not be Woj that everyone's seen, whether that was draft workouts, whatever. And then you're like, we're a book site. Let's bring that to book fans. Here it is. So if trade news breaks, you do that. Then you'd be like, let's analyze this, or let's think of if they're going to trade for this, how many guys. That is how you get clicks. And that is how all of this works. That's how the whole thing stays alive. ESPN know that. They've leaned more and more into that. But they're also neglecting the opportunity that people just like basketball, that you could just have other forms of programming or other ways of framing this, other ways that are better, that are smarter to actually push forward to monetize this. And the other knock-on thing on that then is the aggregation thing, because this became something that it's just like every time you'd list to anything, like Windhorse, be like, oh, the aggregators. Lowe still does this. It's like, yeah, because not everyone gives a shit about Woj tweeting out that some guy is like the 15th roster spot now for the Thunder. It's like not everyone cares about that. They want to know what's happening with their team, and they go to outlets that are specifically focused on that. Like people who want to hear about the Bucks, they come and listen to us because we'll talk about Bucks things. Oh, not right now. Sort of. Sometimes sort of Bucks things. Maybe the Packers, if Jordan and I are feeling a little frisky, but mostly Bucks things.
Pro Bowl.
I think it's broken, the whole model that ESPN have implemented, and that it even predates ESPN. It was, remember the vertical? Remember when Woj and Shams were like, Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi? Everyone remembers that. It's like I don't know.
The same analogy. That's crazy.
I don't know what lessons were learned there on anyone's part.
But I think there's also, I mean, we can go super hyper focused here, and there's reasons why things exist to the current NBA content cycle and these trade rumors, and why things exist the way they do, because it's all seedy and a big conflict of interest and all that stuff. But like, to that point of like when Woj wrote that Damian Lillard article, what was it, 2 weeks ago at this point now? And just the you read it and it's like, that's how Woj used to be a long time ago, when, he's not, this ESPN insider where he's on commercials now and like they're championing him as like Mr. Woj himself. But it's just like when you start to like peel back the layers and understand like, where is this like voice coming from, and why are these things happening? And it's like, that's where it just like,
it's like TMZ like for the NBA at a certain point.
That's where
who's Mr. Editor.
Yes.
Has anyone here seen LA Confidential?
No.
No.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Reference then. It's like the Danny DeVito character in LA Confidential. For
somebody will get that. I want to clarify. Like Woj and Shams got to where they are by being tremendous reporters.
Exactly.
Really good at their job.
And now it's morphed into like agents and teams battle each other via.
Yes, we're not trying to like take away from what they've done. We're trying to tell them to go back to what made them so successful.
Like they also made the first mistake though, which is they became the story, they became the star.
Yeah,
and that's what it is. It's like, Woj got that. It's
I think Jordan mentioned this earlier though. The second tweets, or maybe it was Adam. The second tweets is really where you can see how much it's changed. Because the first tweet is news, and sometimes the agent will even be. That's when I knew we were going to a place. By the way, this started years ago. The agents started getting shouted out in contracts. And it's like, no one cares. Like, we don't need this. But clearly that is like the ego stroke.
Now every signing includes.
They got Nerlens Noel $60 million. Or he never got that actually. But, whatever it is. Sorry.
Got a hot
Walters,
dog that he ate during halftime.
Yeah. But now the worst part is the second tweet, where every time any player is signed, waived, traded, here's their season averages and some meaningless sentence to talk.
This promising wing averaged 0.8 points per game in 12 appearances for like the Shanghai Sharks.
And
that's the level we're at.
Tweets, yeah, that's like they
and
always have to be included.
Ex-agent has now negotiated this amount of money in this free agency period.
Oh yeah. Like casual fans are sitting at home like,
Mark Bartlestein, good job.
I love
good
Mark
job, man.
B.
Is that not the next, like the logical, unbelievably depressing endpoint for this though? Because that is already what happens with
the agents are going to start tweeting it out now.
No, I think we're going to see Twitter accounts like Mark Bartlestein's season
is winning free agency. It's going to be like that. Yeah, seriously. This is like the depressing endpoint of capitalism. But like we've already seen this with Woj and Shams, where people are like tallying up who's winning free agency. It's like not any of us. We're all losing because this is how it's.
Yeah.
You'd have to spend 2 weeks being like, oh God, if Ty has to go walk the dog all the time just to get deals to happen.
Sophie tries her best.
Poor Sophie's little legs. Sometimes it's a strain.
She has a little coat now. It's adorable. Okay, I have one last Bucks grievance. We've covered COVID and the state of NBA media and a little bit of capitalism.
War in Iraq.
And the war in Iraq. I've got a very niche Bucks. Just like, it's gonna sound so stupid after some of the stuff we've covered. It's my last one down.
Nuanced discussion about journalism. Ty, hit us with the next one.
PJ Tucker, I hate losing to him.
I do. That also. I feel like I had the dumbest ones in here. Like,
yours have been really. They've been basketball focused.
You actually understood the assignment.
Yeah.
Fans have too high of an expectation for DeMarcus Cousins, and it's not that many fans. But like I see a lot. I see a fair bit.
I agree with this stuff.
Why is he not playing more? He's a defensive liability, and it's like too often. And it's like he was on the couch until 3 weeks ago.
He looked great last night.
Yeah, he did. He's looked great all season. His net rating, it's like right behind Giannis. There's only 3 guys who the Bucks have been better, and he's had to play some dog shit games.
This was our last pod.
He's been pretty good. Like he's been better than I expected when they first signed him, and I think I've came down a little bit from like that first game. But I think he's going to be useful every time they need him. It's just you need to know what to expect. He's going to be productive in a broad sense. Defensively, no, he's not going to be elite. But he adds enough on offense and just enough impact overall that having him as your backup big man, that's good. Like, that's a good result, especially given they got him off the couch in December. And I maintain, like, if he was available when the Heat lost Bam, he's probably getting snatched up, although they're also dodging tax payments right now. Certainly by this point, with all teams needing players, he would have been snatched up.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That, and I think Wes to a lesser degree, I just haven't seen it as much with Wes. But both of these guys, I think per my expectations, have done very well. And I think Boogie in general, like, he is really delivering an awesome result given the situation. And I'm just very happy with that. And I think it's unrealistic to expect him to be like a great stand-in starter, although he kind of has been. But, like, no, he's not going to lift you to wins in games where no one else is playing. But I like what he's given them. So I just, like, temper the expectations on Boogie. Like, this is good.
Yeah. Jordan, do you think Ty listened to the last win in 6?
I listened to some of it. I don't know if I got
that's what I thought. I just, seeing as I had to air myself out, I was not having to listen to Eurostep. we had this exact conversation, and I agree entirely. He's a backup big. So look for backup big production. He can do more than that, and he will from time to time. That's the bonus. It can't be the expectation. Like, you can't look for him to be prime DeMarcus Cousins. He's not.
Imagine if his name was not DeMarcus Cousins. Just give him
imagine
a different
Bismack Biyombo.
Oh, no, do not imagine that. Ty's Twitter
so
alerts are going to be
better than Bismack Biyombo, though.
Imagine his name was
IG alerts on or Twitter alerts on for Bismack Biyombo.
That's a sickness. That goes back to our last conversation.
Agree.
Look what it's doing to people, Woj. Look what you're doing to Ty. But I do think but I mean, just generally, that's the way the NBA is now living in people's brains. Bismack, you can choose a different player, but I do think it's just like replacement level backup big. It's like, are they going to be the best defender in the world?
Imagine his name is
they're
Alex
a backup
Len.
big. Sure. That's probably a pretty good proxy, even in terms of play style, strengths, and weaknesses. It works. He's playing really well. They are the one thing and the only thing that is gonna matter with him. And it can get messy when you're relying too much on individual net rating. He is the player I will look to it all season. Are the Bucks managing to be good when he's on the floor? If the answer is yes, he's doing what they need him to do, because they need a big who's going to fill some of those minutes and allow everyone else to just do their thing. That makes the Bucks the team they are. So when you see his numbers on that front, it's really encouraging. You don't have to be like, oh, he's not hitting trees, or he's not. It's like, no, he's literally doing exactly what they need him to do, which is he's helping to power all of the other parts of the offense, parts of the defense that we know are there to begin with. He is the replacement level big. His name means that's, hard for people to adjust to, but also means that if everyone can get on board with him being the replacement level big, there will be times where he is more than that. There'll be times where he has a flash, could be in the playoffs or a big game where all of a sudden you've got a guy you can go to inside who's got serious post moves, he's got great vision, he can pass, and you'll get a lot more out of that. On the nights you don't, if he gets you 5 points, 4 rebounds in 15 minutes, and the team is winning those minutes, that's it. That's all you need. That's literally what you're signing him for.
Also, like, the bench just doesn't have anyone else who can really create their own shot. I mean, you look at the bench as it stands right now. It's George Hill who can, but just won't very often, and that's fine. Wes Matthews, some combo of Big Rod, Rodney Hood, and Pat Connaughton, and then Boogie.
Big Rod.
And Boogie's the guy on there who you can just like, okay, we can just give him the ball. He can do something. Like, the Bucks in the past have had issues with just like, there's some lineups where there's just not enough guys who can generate their own stuff. And it's okay to not have a lot of those guys. Like, you need the connective players. But having a guy who, if you have an all-bench lineup, especially in these days where a lot of guys are out, it's not bad to say there's 8 seconds on the shot clock. Let's just throw it down to Boogie, and he'll probably draw a foul or something. Like, there's something there. It's better than, and everyone knows I love Pat. Like, we don't need, like, Pat, Rodney Hood, or Shemi Ojale, by God, pick and rolls. Like, I think this is a much better option.
Take Pat out of that company.
No, it's not the company. It's just
I'll take a Pat pick and roll over those other 2 guys.
No, I said running it with him. So like Shemi pick and roll, which is just
that's doomsday stuff.
There is no worse shot in the league than Shemi wide open right in front of the rim. That thing is gonna hit somebody in the face at the angle it's coming off.
I think it's gonna break the backboard.
Gonna hit Pat in the face. That's what's gonna happen.
It's gonna ricochet off the backboard and give Pat a concussion while somehow going in the opposing.
And he's not gonna check out.
No, absolutely not. He's just gonna fall on his face.
I don't know if he get a concussion.
Just a flesh wound.
He gets kicked in the face, and seemingly
ain't that a kick in the head?
Maybe that's not. Yeah.
Are we out of grievances? I feel better.
Yeah. Probably not, but I mean,
there's always grievances. If you give us enough time, there's always enough grievances.
I mean, 1/2 a grievance. Are we? Does everyone feel good with still? Like, I know this used to be Ty's thing to be like, Aaron Rodgers once said, and then be, relax. I think generally for Bucks fans, I still do think it's something that is. I feel like it is becoming harder. We've reached the point, maybe about a month ago now, where you think anxiety kind of ramps up from game to game, depending on what's happened. I think relax. I think the team's in good shape. This is one of the weirdest, if not the weirdest season. Like, bar this season finishing up at Disneyland, I think this is going to be the weirdest season in NBA history. Just go with it. Just go with it. See where it takes them. I think they're better prepared than most. They've got more level-headed personalities on their team. and I really think that's gonna
Oh,
matter.
I have a grievance. You mentioned level-headed personalities. Show some emotion, Bucks. Like Jordan Nwora having his moment was amazing. Absolutely amazing. We need more moments like that. It was awesome.
Was it really?
It was.
It was incredible.
Adam, your
And,
unfunness is being overruled.
On Emporio Armani or whatever, like the guy's name is.
Is that a Harry Potter spell?
Like,
Emporio
I don't-
brand.
Armani?
No, that's a brand. Come on, Ty.
Emporio is the first part of Armani?
Yes.
I thought you were casting a spell in the wizarding world.
Rohan's upset about that, you know. Rohan's
What is it? Wait, hold on.
would be
likes
the
his
kind of
fashion,
guy-
likes his stuff.
Rohan
Yeah.
would
Hold
be the guy on here
Hold
who's
on.
like, you get Armani right. That's a legendary house.
We'll
Hold
turn
on.
it
Okay.
like doing our Devil Wears Prada like imitation.
So the
Well-
Bucks,
well, my
they're not
point
showing
is-
enough of emotion.
Is Jordan Nwora as well with all that special? When that was a joke, sure, but that is the closest I can get to remembering that guy's name. I know it's vaguely like that. Again,
But
it's
fun. That's the point. What I'm trying to make here is that it's fun. We need more fun. The Bucks are too like, oh, just take care of business, do their
like-
thing. Have some fun.
We're
They're not
riding
getting-
the mean mug train, and there's nothing else that like is like alongside that in terms of like a celebration or some kind of weird thing that people.
But honest
if
question.
Imagine if Chris mixed in some Rock the Babies after he posts up a little guy and hits a shot in the face.
Like, does
But
it too small? Like that'd
do we
be
think
fun.
they've been having fun so far this season?
Well, even when
They're
they
not
do have
showing.
fun, they don't do this kind of.
But I don't think they have been, because how could they have fun? The season has been
They've had
really
some
bizarre.
It's
They've
fun
had
for the
some
fans.
fun.
It's
They've
fun for
had
people
some fun.
watching.
They're still 14-1 when the big three play. There's been some fun times in there.
That's
It's
true, yeah.
it's just mixed in.
I think
Like, this
there
has
would
been
be
a
a
thing
lot
for
more fun
years
if
now,
they.
though.
Sure,
Like,
but
the
that's
Bucks,
the team's
They just
personality.
don't show anything. That's what I'm. That's my grievance.
But I think it's a good thing. I think it's part of why they won a championship.
I don't
They did
necessarily
that though. Have some
disagree.
fun during the regular season. Take it seriously when you need to take it seriously, which is the postseason. This is a regular season. Doesn't matter. Enjoy it. Have some fun. Mock some guy falling over. It's awesome.
On that note,
Don't take that out of context.
Rohan. I think
Rohan
it's
needs to
time.
like watch a whole lot of like Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, something like that. Because
Bunch of
those guys have
Hawks.
fun. I mean, they may not be fun to watch, but those guys have fun when something happens. I don't know. I'm happy with the Bucks just the way they are.
I will say, last note on this. TA's bench reactions are elite. That might be some of the most fun. TA celebrating from the bench.
Let's get him back on the bench to have those
Agreed.
reactions.
Agreed. Well, he's
He's
helping
gonna do that to
I was
himself.
gonna say he fouled out in like 9 minutes. He's
Yeah.
working on it.
It wasn't a great TA game. It was.
At least he
Uh,
didn't almost hospitalize anyone.
That, you know what? That's a win. That's a win. I wonder how Dylan Windler's doing. I hope he's okay. Do we know what happened to him?
No.
No.
This,
I don't even
this,
know what you're
this is
talking
like a
I
borderline.
have no idea. This is a
Oh,
dynamite
wait.
finish to the pod.
No, Thanasis went for a block on Dylan Windler and just body checked him, and his head bounced on the floor
Oh,
and had to leave the
Oh.
game.
Okay, that's not great.
There's been
Yeah.
no news.
And we
But-
were just like, why are you doing this?
But there might have
Why?
been no news
Why?
just because, like, I don't know if people are that interested in Dylan Windler news.
Yeah, I mean, we
Big media.
it depends on the player also. Getting back to the journalism thing, Bobby Portis had to call out Woj for not reporting him being in health and safety protocols.
He's got a right to feel aggrieved by that when all these other guys are getting their deals. Like that kind of is. It's like, well, if all these guys are getting tweets,
I mean, it's Woj and the Bucks. Who knows? Who knows? No one
I
wants to
think we're-
touch that. Okay.
no, I that will open some different grievances to be aired.
Okay. If we're all out of grievances, Ty, Jordan, we're good.
I'm good.
Adam, you already said it.
I'm all
okay.
done.
Hopefully,
I'll save
this-
mine for next year.
next year. Yeah, we should do this. We should make this a yearly
Like an
thing.
annual thing. Yeah.
I'm down.
Yeah. Merry Festivus, Happy Festivus to everyone. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Make sure you enjoy your time. Just, take it a little bit, relax, enjoy your life. Just celebrate life. How about that?
That sounds good.
Yeah,
Take your own advice too, Rohan.
I'll try. I dole out advice. I don't take it. I'm like the biggest hypocrite on the planet. And that is one heck of a place to wrap this up. Say thank you for listening to this episode of the Eurostep Podcast Network, Eurostep Win in 6 collab. Make sure you're subscribed on your podcast platform of choice. 5 stars, Apple and Spotify. Ty, do we have a review?
We do. And actually, coincidentally, the next one up shouts out all 4 of us. This is 5 stars, of course. Got to be 5. It's about time.
The only reviews that count, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
It's about time with 4 exclamation points. Should have made it 5 just to be on brand. And also, at James Ontario 12 is in the headline for this review, so I assume that's the Twitter user this comes from. He writes, "This is the best podcast I've ever listened to. Through all the happy times, laughter, sadness, and anger, I'd like to say that Rohan is the most polarizing person to ever podcast. I appreciate everyone from Big Time Ty, Adam the Bobby Portis hater / lover, and the mysterious Jordan Tresky, who really isn't a biased person. One day I'll be ready to help the video and presentation crew." That's a dynamite review.
That is
and
fantastic.
A resume and an application.
Am I polarizing?
Yeah,
I'm gonna spend the next few hours thinking about Rohan as a polarizing figure.
the most.
Is that a thing?
It is
I
now.
don't know.
It's not up for
Yeah,
us
it
to
is now.
decide. I mean,
I had to dive into the Discord and be like, yeah, what people think of Rohan?
Just type my name, thoughts. It's just gonna be a.
We're gonna do that right now. Just don't check in for a few hours, right?
Okay, I'll try my best. But yeah, thank you for that review. It does mean a lot. Thank you for the appreciation. We appreciate you listening. And if you want to get your review read, just leave a review. Leave a 5-star review. We'll read it out on a podcast. But yeah, make sure you subscribe. Like I mentioned earlier, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube Eurostep Podcast Network on YouTube. GSPN.substack.com. Make sure you get in our Discord by, proof of subscription to the Substack or leaving a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. We'll get you in there for our playback rooms. Adam, you want to come into our next playback room at some point? Jordan, we'll see what happens. We'll talk. Our next one is scheduled for January 5th.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds. If it was like the next game, I was like, I won't be there.
No, our next one is scheduled for January 5th against the Raptors.
If Giannis is there, I might be there.
Okay, we'll see what happens. We have some time until then, 2 weeks. But yeah, happy holidays, everyone. We will talk to you next time.